Some of the most challenging questions you might get asked in an interview are when they specifically ask you about a situation you've experienced in the past and how you handled it. But what happens when you don't have that experience? They ask you about something that you have never actually been through. That can be really challenging to answer. I've been in recruitment for 15 years, and in today's video, I'm going to teach you exactly what to do if you find yourself in that situation. Let's go. Now, first and foremost, why does this happen? Well, there are questions called behavioral interview questions, and they are questions designed to have the interviewer understand how you would act in a given situation. These are situations like when you had a difference of opinion with a coworker, or when your manager told you to do something you didn't think was the right decision. It's a variety of different situations, but it's a good way for them to understand how have you acted in the past, because that's a good predictor of future behavior. They're called behavioral interview questions, and anytime you are asked a question that starts with, give me an example of a time when, or tell me about a time when, you know you're being asked a behavioral interview question. Okay, so let's just say they ask you a specific question, like, give me an example of a time where you disagreed with a direct order from a superior or a manager. Let's just say they asked you that question, but you don't have that experience. That's never happened to you before. Either you are newer to your career, or you've never been in that very specific circumstance. What are you supposed to do then? Now, in a perfect world, you have an example like this, and you can share with them your example using the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. What was the situation you were in? What was the task you had to complete? What specific action did you take? And R, what was the result? But if you haven't been in that situation, you don't have an answer for them, my recommendation is use the HUS strategy. Now, the HUS strategy, or HUH, gives you 3 separate things you need to do to answer this question if you don't have an example. Now, the first thing you need to do is let them know that you haven't experienced it. So that might sound something like this. That's a really good question. And I have to say, thinking back on my career, I haven't experienced this specific situation yet. Now, the next part to the strategy is you, and that's letting them know that you understand the importance of a situation like this, right? Whenever they're asking you a question that specifically is a behavioral interview question, or just a situational question like, what would you do in this type of situation? And you haven't experienced it, it's because typically it's something that happens with a relatively high frequency, and or it's incredibly important. So what you want to let them know is you understand that this is a critical thing. So, I haven't experienced this before, but I understand that this could be something that's really important to handle the right way. If you disagreed with your manager, it could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe you have information they don't have, or maybe you feel like it's something that wouldn't be the best way to handle a situation, right? And you're letting them know, like, hey, I get it. This is a big deal. Now, the final step is H, and this is how would you handle it, right? So you're going to say, I haven't experienced this before in my career. I understand, though, this is really important. A situation like this needs to be handled delicately. And then how you would handle it. I think in this situation, for me, what I would do is I would try to gain clarity. If I have a disagreement with my direct superior, I understand that's a situation that needs to be handled delicately. So I'd ask them for a few minutes of their time. I'd ask them probing questions to kind of learn, okay, what is the why behind this? And I'd explain my portion of why I think a different thing or a different approach might be a better way to handle this situation. And then whatever the outcome would be, I would follow through, because at the end of the day, that's my boss, and I'm sure they have a good reason for it, but I'd want to try to express my concerns or my feelings of handling something a different way and ultimately get on the same page. And that's what you do. You use the HUS strategy. Haven't experienced it before, I understand it's important, and here's how I would handle it if I was in that situation. And if you can do that, you'll do great. Now, if you do that and you do great, you're probably going to end up at a final interview. And final interviews are actually way different than beginning interviews or middle interviews. In fact, I made this video right here. This video here teaches you exactly what you need to do if you want to nail a final interview. So I'm done here. I'll see you over there.